I don't know if I really want to share the presentation with you. I kind of want to just talk about what we're talking about, if that's okay. If that's okay, I really do want to show you the presentation, but that really has to do with, hope if you guys are familiar with it, Ordinance 1930, DFWO, Disposable Foodware Ordinance. If you're not familiar with it, I can go over that. But I really want it. It sounds like all of you want to know really what happens to garbage. And I really want to share that with you. I really do. Because I think all of you should know what happens to garbage. So basically, when we deal with garbage, for a municipality, we're talking about nearly 800,000 tons of garbage produced annually. 800,000 tons. And it goes somewhere. Most places you think, oh, it's probably going to a landfill, or oh, it's probably going to waste to energy being burned, and then the ash ends up in a landfill, or it's probably being recycled. We don't know where the recyclables are going. It's probably going somewhere on the West Coast. We actually do all of that here, and we're different than the other counties. We have a recycling piece. We have a composting aspect to it. We have waste to energy. And then ultimately, we do have a landfill. Those are the things that just cannot be burned, cannot be recycled or composted. The one thing that were lacking is source reduction. There was a piece in there that was missing. And if you think about the hierarchy of solid waste management, the top of the pyramid is source reduction. But then, I start thinking about, okay, really my job is to deal with waste. My job is not to say, hey, public, generate less waste. That was earlier on in my career. And then now that I think about it, it's like, no, no, no. We should be telling people to generate less waste. We really should be promoting that. That is part of the integrated or the hierarchy of solid waste management. And so really what happens to your recyclables, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the blue cart the blue carts. Do all of you have the blue cart system?
Eh, I can you just to make sure that I say no correctly. What is that?
Okay, so residents that have the gray, green, and the blue carts to put your recyclables in.
Okay, so that's my question that I was going to tell you at the very beginning.
Sure.
So I live in Waikiki.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Sorry.
and it is very upsetting that we
Yes.
don't have any recycling system around when I'm pretty sure we are the area that most waste produce.
Oh,
So
yeah.
my question is why? What is the reason behind that we don't know even like a residential buildings have the chance to do the recycling properly like other places like Manoa or more residential house has that opportunity.
So if you think about Waikiki, I mean, just aesthetically, you walk around. Really, what do you see? You see a garbage container, and then you see a blue container that looks like recycling, and really that's it. Recycling in Waikiki is so one. Waikiki is a special district. I want to say there are about 7 special districts on Oahu, and Waikiki is one of them. If you go to any hotel, where is the recycling happening? It's in the back of the house. And we in the industry, we know this. And so we're trying to work with the Waikiki Business, I think it's WBIDA, Waikiki Business Industry District Association. And we really want to have containers on the streets of Waikiki, but they have to be visually nice, because that's where a lot of the tourists go. But right now, with the way the budget, crunch is, we can probably assist with, having 1 or 2 containers there. But the more exciting thing that the city can offer, if you live in a condo, an association, an apartment building, the city offers a condo recycling program, and we're willing to pay for it. We'll give you $2,500 to go ahead and design something. You work with us, design a program for your building, and we'll buy the equipment for you. You would have to report and do all of this other stuff, but we've only had maybe 12 condos take advantage of this, and this is something that I think we should be promoting, especially in highly dense areas, whether it be Waikiki, Kaka'ako, or whatnot. But we have this program, and every year, I always ask, have we increased our numbers? Have we increased our numbers? And that was my goal, last year, to try and get more condos involved with this. But I know Waikiki is a very difficult place to have recycling receptacles. Bulky items. There was a point where bulky items were just being placed on the streets. And so the mayor came to us and they're like, hey, you guys can't do just once a month. We had council members coming to us. And so now what we do, and it's kind of a special circumstance for Waikiki, is that we do bulky item pickup once a week, but in my mind, I'm thinking, how come we have so much bulky items? But these are the challenges when you have these special areas where you have that visual aspect. Oh, Waikiki, we can't make it this and we can't make it that. And a lot of what you see with waste management is all in the back of the house. And so we have to take that into consideration when we're trying to really push recycling in that type of area. We're working on it, though. We are working on it. Um, it's just, I was hoping to have at least 10 more containers to replace the containers that are within the streets now. But when we're all dealing with budget cuts, and so that was one of the programs where they took you know a good portion of my budget. So now I can only afford one. But it's like, okay, what am I gonna do with one container? So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to increase awareness, whether it be working with hotels and working with their staff to have recycling, or really promoting our condo recycling program and say, hey, we have this money, would you like to do something in your building? Work with us, we'll pay for it. You just report annually on how much you recycle. So
Hey,
give us a bit more time and we'll have something in the community.
hey, Henry, it's
Yeah.
Dan Donnell. I
Hello,
used
Dan.
to work in Waikiki, so I have a good understanding of the hotels. And I
Yeah.
think what it comes down to is economics. And, because the hotels have to pay a hauler for the weight of their trash. So anything they can deviate, and the same with a condo, anything they can move away to a recycling channel saves them money, which is an economic incentive for them. I'm curious on economics of recycling. Aluminum strikes me like that's a high value item, but cardboard or newspaper is probably not a high value item in Hawaii. And how do you see it, or the city sees it? And I've read articles like, I put whatever newspaper or cardboard in my blue bin, but it ends up at H power because that you need to meet the minimum on the H power weight. And so I feel good, like, oh, it's going in a blue bin, but it's actually, not being sent to China, which doesn't want to take our cardboard anymore. Or, just to me, the economics of recycling are quite mysterious. And then, you add on Hawaii's market is so small. So like I guess the real crux of this question is, where does our recycled material go?
Okay. No. I will start off by saying that it is a weird rumor that blue card material recyclables end up at H Power. I can tell you, I manage the contract. I know exactly how much goes to of that blue card material goes to our contractor. Um, Before I get into that, though, I do want to just make it clear that when your hotel, when your condo has a recycling program, it does offset the cost of your disposal. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, a lot of these haulers, it really depends on the market. If they're making money off of, commingled material, and that's really, you're putting it all in one bin. If they're able to make money off of that, it sure, it's going to offset they're going to make money on their side, it's going to offset your disposal costs. But if the market is low, you know, if the material is heavily contaminated and you're not putting in the proper, the right recyclable material, basically that is really what happens to recyclables. Contamination at 17%, who wants to sort that? So it may end up at H power because the wrong things are being, put in the recycling bin. So, and that's a huge issue. And that's something that I really, really want to stress, is that know exactly what the recycling bin should take. And if you have any questions, I will give you my direct line, and you can call me, just call me, and I'll tell you, okay, that is recyclable. But you put any type of contamination in there, now it degrades that material. You talked about China. China was accepting contamination levels of 15%, 10%, and that's what we're sending them. We're sending them 15% garbage, in this bale of cardboard that's supposed to be 100% cardboard. So what did they do? They said, we don't want your garbage, your recyclables anymore, unless it is 0.5% contaminated. Now, when you look at a cardboard box that has that glossiness on the outside, like let's say you're buying beer and you buy a Heineken and you see the glossiness, that is a contamination right there. So is it, it's like we can't, there is no it's very difficult to recycle those types of things. Now, on the brighter side, if we look at the brighter side, cardboard, you mentioned cardboard. What was the other commodity you mentioned? Paper. Cardboard,
paper.
Since COVID, there has been a spike in cardboard, in the cardboard market.
All the Amazon boxes.
It's the online buyers, yeah. And so and we track this daily. So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, price for cardboard is just, it went from like, I want to say like maybe $12 a ton, and it jumped to like maybe $80 a ton. So here we are going, okay, we got to take advantage of this. The markets are good. Let's do a whole public education piece on cardboard. Because people, they don't really understand really what cardboard is. Corrugated cardboard is valuable. Flatboard, like your cereal boxes, that's really, H power material. There's no value in that here. The way recycling works here is we have to take into consideration that every item that you choose to recycle is shipped off island. There's no manufacturers. So you have to add in that shipping cost. Now, where does recyclables go? Your PET, that's your number one plastic. That's going to an Asian market. High value material. Now, what is happening with PET is that California passed AB 793. Now, what that says is that their beverage deposit containers must have 25 or 15% by 2025 of recycled PET in their plastic. And then it's a tiered law, so it goes up, the percentage, the content goes up, I think every 5 years, to where at, I want to say either 2035 or 2040, they have to have upwards of 40% RPET is what they call it. So now what that tells me is that there's going to be this huge demand for number one plastic, because California alone there's not enough PET to sustain what they're trying to do. Washington is now following in that same footstep. They've passed legislation, and this is what EPR, extended producer responsibility, is all about. And that's really what I want to talk about. But paper products, so aluminum cans, that's your high value material. It takes roughly 20 to 26 cans to make a pound. You're getting $1.35 per pound when you recycle that. So as an individual, and I'm one of those guys, I'll pick up a can here, that's 5 cents to me. I'm making $1.35 each time I go and I recycle cans. That's the money maker for most people. That goes to the West Coast. Glass, as long as it's separated according to color. Color is flint is your clear, green is your normal green bottles, and then amber is your brown. As long as it's sorted according to color, there is a value to it. It's not as much as you would make on the West Coast because we have to pay Matson to go and ship this stuff off, but there is a value to it. Paper, newspaper, so old newspaper, ONP, there's a value to that so long as it's newspaper. It's not mixed in with magazines or envelopes or flatboard or whatnot, newspaper. White paper, as your office paper. We don't generate as much as we used to before, but there is a huge market for that. White, and then there's colored paper as well. Cardboard, and this is what I was talking about. You have cardboard that is your Amazon quality, or it's all brown, and then you have cardboard that has that glossiness that is kind of contaminated. Cardboard industry term OCC 11 is your lesser grade. There is a high value for that. OCC 12, that's your generally your brown cardboard boxes. There is an even higher value for that. So if you think about all the material that we recycle here, your number one plastic, your number two, that's your HDPE, your milk gallons, your newspaper, your white, your color paper, your glass, amber, clear, and green, and then also your aluminum cans. All of those materials here have value to it. Now, if you're from somewhere else, you're probably saying, well, here we recycle this and here recycle that. Most places will take a mixed paper, and that's combining everything, but they're gonna get maybe like, $5 a ton for it. But if you just separate it, and that's what these recyclers do over here, and you ship it according to commodity, they're gonna make much more. And then there's gonna be an easier way to sell that type of material.
So does the city separate the blue bin? Because I'm throwing in all that stuff you just talked about. Well, except for the high five stuff, which I'd rather do
Yeah,
myself, or it's my son's job to do the high five. But so the blue bin is got newspaper, it's got cardboard, it's got the flat board you're talking about. Does the city attempt to sort it?
Yes. So we have a contractor. We have a contract. So basically, what I do for the city is I manage there's about maybe 6 of us, and we manage service contracts throughout the city, all recycling related. So one contract is the blue cart curbside pickup. So on average, we generate, or we collect 23 to 24,000 tons a year of recyclable material. Depending on where you live, it will depend on the contamination rate. If you live on the windward side, your contamination rate is upwards around 20%. If you live in the central Oahu area, you're probably down in the 16% contamination. No matter where you go on island, there's a percent contamination. So it does get collected. It does get dropped off at one of our contractors, that's R Recycling in Campbell Industrial. And they literally dump the truck, and then they go and they have a MRF over there, material recycling facility, recovery facility, and then they separate all the different types of material. So all the way from plastics, 1 and 2, aluminum, steel cans as well, glass, according to color, and then all your paper products as well. So it is sorted. It is sorted, and it is, that's what is sold to market.
What percentage of all the blue beans that you receive goes to waste because it doesn't qualify, like because of the percentage of contamination?
So out of the 23,000 tons or 24,000 tons that we deliver, our contamination percentage overall is around 17%. So, which is quite okay. It is a lot of residue. We call it residue. It is residue, that is high to me, because we're very specific, and we're very clear on what you should put in the blue bin. It's pretty easy: 1 and 2 plastic, cardboard, long as it's corrugated, glass. Glass is glass. We don't say tempered glass. So glass is glass, and then white paper. I think people like to they want to recycle everything, but that really poses a problem to us. So your contamination is about 17%. Now, basically, what that is garbage. It could be clothes, it could be footwear, it could be food waste. In late December, I had the opportunity to sift through garbage full, or a truckload of recyclables, and a resident had mistakenly thrown a Nintendo Switch in the blue bin, and they gave me a call, and I said, okay, I'll do my best to go and search for this. So, and what I saw was amazing. I didn't see much recycling or recyclables. I saw mailboxes, I saw clothes, I saw food, I saw a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff, and it kind of blows my mind, because it seems like people really, they want to recycle, but they just want to also just get rid of whatever they're getting rid of. And so, but that's something that we have to deal with. Hopefully we can decrease the amount of contamination as we educate people more on really what we want to recycle. I
Henry,
hope
it's
that
so
answers your question.
gracious of you, Henry, to call that an opportunity.
Yeah. The story ended well. I found it. It was literally, if you picture 40 cubic yards of just recyclables with 20%, garbage. It was in the middle of the pile, and it was probably about 2 hours into the sifting. And there was another person with me, but just to see the two mailboxes, I was like, mailbox syringes. There was a box of syringes, and here I am. I had gloves, I had all PPE on. I'm pulling out this box thinking that, wow, they didn't break down the box. I go and I break, I start to pull the bottom of the box, and out pops these, needles. And I'm like, wow, oil. People were throwing away oil in the recycling bin. I was like, and it wasn't even contained. It was in a plastic bag that burst. I was like, wow, I got to do a better job of educating people, because they just, maybe they don't know. Maybe they just, oh yeah, recycling. Oh yeah, they recycle oil. It's like, no, you don't recycle that. But
has the city considered educational campaigns around like waste reduction? Or, I mean, of course, like we've all, I don't know about here, but growing up, I'd hear like small campaigns about what you can recycle, but like about waste reduction in general.
So we've tried text. Didn't work 20 years ago. We've tried pictures. That seemed to work. We literally took photographs, and we tried to do a campaign on that. That seemed to work a little bit better. Our website is to me, it's just convoluted, but it has a bunch of information. We're still trying.
What about like waste reduction though, like using less?
Okay, so
has that ever been something that you have considered building in?
So
I mean, I can tell that you're really interested in it, but I think like as an organization, do you think that's something that could get put through?
No, and I'll be honest with you, no. Now, I say no only because, when we look at what we do for the city, we're waste people, and here I am telling all of you to generate less waste, and, does that jeopardize my job? No, I don't think it does. But I think that was the missing link to all of what we were doing. Like I mentioned, I've been in this waste industry for a long time, and that was the one piece that I thought, God, something's missing. And so in talking with a lot of the environmental groups, in talking with a lot of sustainability people, now I really have an appreciation for source reduction. And so source reduction, and I was in a meeting yesterday with the representative, um, a state representative, and we were talking about extended producer responsibility, EPR. And so, to me, that is really where we should be headed. Why should municipalities be, utilizing their budget when these producers are the ones creating these products that maybe will be, waste within 2 years? Why not build in, why not make it their responsibility to think of long-term quality products? And so I had a talk with the state rep yesterday, and I had a similar talk with the Department of Health today to really try and push EPR, um, not so much for the commodity though, and that's really what California and Washington are looking at. They're looking at, recycled content in beverage containers, plastic beverage containers. I view that as, well, you're still promoting the use of of plastic. At least it's a circular economy for the plastic industry, but really, aren't we trying to eliminate that? And so I'm trying to like really look at mattresses. Mattresses are problematic, in disposal, especially for waste to energy. All the springs get caught up in the gears. So why not make it a producer responsibility to fund disposal programs for mattresses? Batteries. Right now, you're seeing a lot of lithium ion tools, and we're seeing the end life of these tools, and they're showing up in our waste stream. Why not make that a producer responsibility disposal method as well? Um, Match carpet. Carpet is another one. It's like all of these things that are problematic. I think we're headed in that direction. I just think we weren't really looking at source reduction, um, in the past. Now, if you think about it, why would we when, we have H power, right? We've got to meet a goal of 800,000 tons per year, but to me, it's like, hey, if we don't meet that goal, we don't meet that goal. Then we modify the contract to then say, okay, we got to meet 700,000. But it depends on who you talk to. Some people might say, no, 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 waste to energy is part of the solution, because you generate electricity. The city sells electricity to HECO, and they make money off of it. It's self sufficient so long as you, consumer, produce garbage. So I'm on that side of saying, just produce less, please produce less. If you choose to
I
recycle.
don't think we run the risk. I don't think we run the risk of going too far and
Yeah.
and not being able to feed H power. So
Yeah, yeah. Everybody thinks H power is this monster, this beast of a. And I always tell people, is like, you guys are the ones producing garbage. Produce less, then, please. Don't feed the beast, because what you generate that cannot be recycled, composted, or repaired, or whatnot, it's gonna feed something that we have as a method of disposal. So if you want to recycle, we have a method to recycle. Compost, you can do that. But if you have plastic film, styrofoam, you know, rigid plastic, that all that has to go to H power. There is no facility on island that's going to accept that material. Food waste. If you generate a lot of food waste, maybe you should think about composting. You should think about that and do it on site at your house, or work with a park or city program. So I met with the community gardens, and I said I want to try this pilot program. And I was looking into buying an anaerobic composter to store at a community gardens, and really to have a community bring in food waste to feed this anaerobic digester. So the community gardens they were on board with it. And I was going to do a pilot program, and I still may do a pilot program. We got to get past this budget crisis first, and then hopefully I can set something up at Foster Village, and then the surrounding community will be able to bring food waste, and then compost it at this site. Hopefully, then to bring back some of the compost as well. You know, food waste is roughly, organics is roughly 39% of our waste stream. Out of that 39%, 20% is food waste. So that is a huge thing that we should be looking at. And what we're trying to do is, you know, if restaurants and bars, if they have this type of food waste, you know, maybe you should look at donating or other means to dispose of it, not just throw it away. So,
Hey, Henry, I
yeah.
know that we just elected a mayor. The mayor took office. There's a new mayor, but I think you should be the mayor of trash. You're like the most passionate, logical guy I've heard talk about this subject. So thank you.
So like I said, it just depends on who you talk to. You know, I'm very transparent about what I do, and I'm very open to suggestions, recommendations, because I'm not trying to brag. I live that lifestyle. You know,
So,
I go home and I live trash. I go to the beach and I pick up trash. You know, my kids they do the same.
I did that today. So it's
Oh,
like so
good.
easy. It's like, yeah. My wife's always mad at me because she's like, you can get COVID. And I'm like, look, it's, the odds are like, next to nothing. But anyway, um, you mentioned green. I'm curious. Years ago, I filled up my dad's pickup truck with, garden waste, tree trimmings, whatever, and took it over to the quarry, Kaka'ako.
Yep.
What happens to the compost there that the city makes, or I get the community garden or your own garden. I'm curious about the industrial scale green waste. Where
Okay.
does that go on this island?
Okay, so just to give you some statistics, I guess you can call it, we generate roughly 75,000 tons of green waste annually, and that's residentially collected. 75,000 tons. There is a composter on island that, once again, the city contracts with Hawaiian Earth Recycling. They're in the Waihiwa area. They take all of our green waste, they grind it up, and then they compost it through the open method, windrows. Um, it's a hefty fee that the city has to pay to compost or to recycle green waste. Once again, the contamination level is probably around, now this may sound like a little bit, but it's a lot when you're there at the site. It's only roughly between 1 and 2%. But that 1 and 2% are plastic bags, plastic whatever. Now, when you send a plastic bag through a grinder, you're going to see these microplastics in these windrows. And as it kind of goes from one stage to another in the finished product, you're still going to see these microplastics, in the finished product. And that was one of the biggest complaints that I have as a buyer, as a user, is that I find these rigid plastics in their compost. But there is a company on island. There's only one company on island. So any green waste that you bring to a transfer station, you end up, dumping it off to if you're entering the facility on the left-hand side, it's going to get transferred into with a semi-trailer, to Hawaiian Earth Recycling, and then it gets processed there as well. Good material, though. I do want to say that I use their material.
Hawaiian Earth sells the product to all comers.
Yeah. So they sell it to farmers. They sell it to residents. Now, I will say this. I'm if you're doing a large area, buy compost in bulk, because it's 1 cubic yard is roughly, I want to say, $22 per yard, 1 cubic yard. Now, if you think about it, how do you really measure a scoop of a 1 cubic yard? You're probably going to get a lot more than 1 cubic yard of material. It's a lot of material to kind of move around. I did my backyard, and I used their lawn, and I'm not trying to pitch them. I just want to give you an idea of what I did. A lawn and garden mix. So it's 50% topsoil, 50% compost. And for one person with a wheelbarrow and a shovel, it was a lot of work. It's heavy material. They do also give away free mulch. Now, there's a difference between compost and mulch. The mulch is your coarse material that normally is above ground. It's a really nice product if you want kind of that, woodsy look, and it's free. So, me being the frugal guy that I am, I'll go there and I'll go pick up, 2 5-gallon buckets of compost because that's my carbon source. I don't produce much carbon in my compost pile at home. So then I take that and then I dump it into my compost bin as my carbon source. I produce more nitrogen than carbon. So, yeah. So yeah, I highly recommend if you haven't gone out to Hawaiian Earth Recycling, drive out there and if you're not into buying compost, bring home some mulch. Bring home some mulch.
Henry,
Yeah.
do you think it's possible for you to talk a little bit about the ordinance?
Yeah.
We got 10 more minutes, but I hope that can cover.
Yeah. So okay, and I don't want to. I do want to give you. I do want to show the presentation, but it might take longer than 10 minutes. So let me talk about it, and hopefully I'm not all over the place. So Ordinance 1930 was Bill 40. Bill 40 was introduced introduced and passed in December of 2019. So basically, the effective date of Bill 40 was supposed to be January 1st, 2021. Now, what is being impacted, or who is being impacted? All food vendors, all businesses that provide, um, food to customers, grocery stores as well. So 2021, January 1st, and I'll get into the reason why I'm saying there's a delay. It's only the serviceware. So the serviceware is what I guess this is what they call it in their industry, is cutlery. And so all serviceware that is being utilized for businesses, food vendors and whatnot, have to be plastic free. So it cannot and that includes any type of additive. So if you have a fork, there can't be any plastic in there. It has to be, and if you're familiar with it, they have PLA, polylactic acid. It's a bio-based plastic. It doesn't have to deal with the compostability of it. It just has to be plastic free, petroleum free. So that's really what is in effect in 2021. Now there's a delay. Former Mayor Caldwell, towards the end of December, granted a 90-day exemption or a delay on the effective date. So now we're looking at an effective date of April 1st. So this allows now, and maybe you've read the press release, this allows the city to do this public education piece. Well, if you go on our website, we do have all the public education material there that people, food vendors can download and present it to their customers or their employees. I think really what was happening is that you had an industry who had a large supply of these plastic, foodware or serviceware, and it allows them now to get rid of their supply. So we're hoping within 3 months that these food vendors that are impacted by this ordinance will comply and then distribute non-plastic serviceware. So that's just 2021. There's also in 2021 for any city-sponsored permitted event, food vendors that are contracted cannot use polystyrene. So if you were go to Ala Moana and there's that L&L there, come April 1st, you shouldn't be receiving anything that contains plastic, to include polystyrene containers, because they're a city contracted vendor. Now 2022, that's the big one. So that's where we now say, okay, food vendors, you cannot use foodware, plastic derived foodware. It cannot contain any plastic. So what we're seeing now is PLA based foodware starting to pop up here and there. But we have to ask the question. We have to say, okay, what is the composition of that item? So we do ask for the SDS sheets, and on the SDS sheet has a composition makeup, and so that is really what the. And then also in 2022, distributors cannot sell foodware. So in all aspects, come 2022, you shouldn't see any plastic serviceware nor plastic foodware. Now, what you may hear too is this upon request. Oh yeah, it's only upon request that you can ask for serviceware. So upon request, yes, you as a customer can say, "Oh, can I have a fork?" You can say that. Um, but there is a portion of the ordinance that says also as a affirmative response, which means then that the employee can say, "Oh, would you like a fork?" So there are these things that you may not see in the media, but it's there. It's in the ordinance, and I would be happy to share the ordinance with all of you. I do. I can send a PDF if you want it. If you want clarification on any of it, I can definitely share it with you. But I would highly recommend, if you're interested in the ordinance, opala.org is our website. The disposable foodware webpage, DFWO, the Disposable Foodware Ordinance webpage, has everything and anything educational materials, that you can use if you have a business. Um, but this all has to do with really just trying to eliminate single-use plastic. And I wasn't involved in writing it. I'm just one of these people who have to enforce it. Like I said, I'm a waste guy. So does it, does it matter? Yes, it does matter, because we want to generate less waste. Does it really, really matter? Well, it'll end up at H power anyway. I have excuses all over the place that I can use, but I'm one of those guys that will just say, no, just generate less waste, put me out of business. So hopefully
Henry,
that answers the question.
I have a.
Oh,
Can I just interrupt? Just one small question about
Sure.
what you're just talking about with the polylactic acid.
Yep.
Or let's say so-called biodegradable plastics that don't contain oil.
Yep.
Are you suggesting that that's a good thing? Or are you suggesting that as
Okay,
a
so
bad thing?
Well,
Not to make this a huge long answer, but just
I want to be able to answer on a professional level and then my own opinion. So on a professional level, currently where I work, does it really matter? You're going to throw, whether it's bio-based or plastic, so long as you throw it away, where does it go? It goes to H power. If it's bio-based compostable, where does it go? It goes to H power. So part of me is like, unless we have a composting facility that will accept this material, then really it's all going to H power. The other side of me is saying it's a good thing, but maybe this is a phase. This is something just to get us into the next phase is really reuse. Are we heading towards reuse as an option for people or for restaurants to provide a reuse method? Because really that would eliminate any type of plastic this or bio-based this. There's this reuse option that's out there. Now, when I was younger, we used to have a deposit on bottles. So you go and you buy a Coke in a bottle, and then you return it to the liquor store and you get 10 cents back. So, and they refilled that bottle. Is that where we're heading towards? And to me, that is really the ideal of source reduction, is that. So and I hate to be like this where I'm playing both sides. Is just that's really where we are now. Now I will tell you that we are looking into a facility that will compost food waste to include these serviceware and foodware. We are looking into that, and we'll probably have to make a decision in 3 years. But it's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money to do that. So hopefully, I know that's a wishy-washy answer.
No,
but,
I think nobody has really a direct answer. That's probably the best
you know,
answer
I
I've
can
gotten.
only
So
tell you, yeah, yeah. I just think we're headed in that reuse direction.
Henry,
Yeah.
so from your, because you're saying that you don't like to be like here and there from your point of view, since you are in the, you can give us a better insight. What would you think that is the most challenging factor that don't let the island or the county move forward with better strategy? You think there is budget, political will, or like something the, or like a community pressure on the subject?
That is a very interesting question. Garbage, and I want to say it's all of the above. Garbage is a commodity. There is a lot of money in garbage. It is politically connected. You can go to any county, and there is always a company involved in garbage, and it's always the same company. Very, very politically connected. Budget, yes. Our service contracts, just our green waste contract alone, and I won't tell you the exact amount, but you can do the multiplication. 75,000 per ton at $90 per ton to compost it. That's how much we pay every year for that. So you're talking $8 million a year, just to compost this. So budget, yes. I think really when you think about, and this is probably a perspective, when you think about how we manage waste, everybody's going to say, oh, H power this and H power that. Now, my perspective is that when you look at how we view, or how I view solid waste management, waste to energy is the third item in that upside down pyramid. So I don't look at H power as our go-to method to dispose of material. I really try to focus on the upper level, but it depends on who you talk to. The city has invested a lot of money into H power. The city also makes a lot of money from the electricity that they sell. So from a financial aspect, H power is something, and I've been challenged by that. It's like, I'm going to throw away everything because it's better. You guys make money off of it, and I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue about it, but I do want to say that from my perspective, if we just look at just source reduction, if we just look at recycling, composting, and we do things individually, maybe these things wouldn't be politically driven, or nor there'd be a budgetary issue, and then we wouldn't have to focus on H power so much, just on the materials that can't be composted or recycled. I know that's really wishy-washy answer too, but I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's totally okay. Thank you so much, Henry, for sharing all this information. I feel like there is so much things to learn and to know about,
Yes.
that if we could have you again, maybe we
Yeah,
can
please.
find like some specific topic,
Yeah.
and we can just like discuss that in more in a bigger proportion.
Yes.
I think that would be great. In the meantime, like, I mean, it's just so many things that we can work on, and that we can that we can improve. And I also would like to open an opportunity, if we can, because we also, as a club, we work with the Kaka'ako community garden, with tree plantings, and before we were talking about doing some sort of recycling project, or doing food waste around residential homes. So we don't really have anything in place, but if we can open the opportunity to maybe work on something together, as a Rotary, we have the chance to ask for grants if we need money for a specific project. And I think that if we have the support of the county side, that will make things easier for us in case that we want to pursue a specific project for a specific community.
I think food waste is definitely something that we would be in favor of. Food waste, there is no energy value in food waste, so why should we even have it in H Power anyway? So to extract that material from the waste stream, that would be a good idea. If there was like personally, if there was something that I would really want to pilot, and I'm not sure if all of you guys know, but April had brought this up, but bokashi.
Mm-hmm.
Bokashi is something to me that I do at my house. There is no discriminating, the type of food like you have to in a regular open compost. And I make my own brand. If that is something that maybe you guys are willing to work with, I am willing to share everything that I know, and maybe it doesn't even have to be city oriented. It could be just me coming out there and say, hey, this is what I do, and and let's test it to see. I think that the most difficult part is really to try and find an area that's willing to accept fermented food basically. But yeah, I'm more than willing to assist with that and to support it.
Henry, I'm so glad you brought that up. I just reached out and had contact with Kaka'ako at EM Hawaii.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was asking her if she wanted to present to our Rotary Club. And I'm like, this is
great.
just so perfect that you brought it up. Like, yeah, if we could incorporate that into the Kaka'ako community garden with you, that would be awesome.
Did you speak to Hito by any chance?
I've spoke to him in the past, and I just went and picked up more rice bran and touch base with Kaka'ako.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. No. If they do something with the club, please invite me because I'd like to participate. As
Absolutely.
Well.
I think it's safe to say you have an open invite to any of our meetings from now on, and maybe you should join our club.
Yeah, you can join us, Henry. Okay, so before we move forward, so it is 7:07. I'm gonna share the last slide to do the four-way test, and if people wants to stick in the meeting if have more questions for Henry, Henry's gonna give us extra few minutes to do so. Sure. So I'm just gonna share so we can just close the meeting. Okay, but you guys we can stay if you guys have more questions for Henry. Okay, the four-way test. Kevin, would you like to lead the four-way test tonight?
You mean me?
Yes, you.
Okay. What we think, say, or do. Number one.
Is it the truth?
Number two. Is it fair to all concerned? Number three. Will it
build goodwill
and
better friendships?
Number four.
Will
it be beneficial to all concerned?
Number 5, 6, and 7.
Is it environmental and eco-friendly? Is it fun?
Is it sustainable? 8. But we gotta have number 9.
Yeah.
Is it regenerative?
Okay.
Henry, you get to do number 9.
Cool.
Is it something? Henry, go for it, man. You get to do number 9.
Oh, that's too much pressure, Kevin. Is it repairable? I don't know.
Reduce your waste. No,
yes,
something.
Generate less waste, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
This meeting is officially adjourned, but we can continue with the questions for Henry. I'm gonna stop the recording now.